So good morning, Samir. So thank you for joining on this discussion on, which we titled as Risk to Resilience and how to look at cyber risk management in the age of AI. So I just want to put a few questions to you around this. The reason being that AI has now become our greatest opportunity as well as our most complex threat. And of course, AI technologies are helping CISOs like you to detect threats, automate response, look at vulnerabilities. And at the same time, they are also helping all the adversaries to, give them new kinds of capabilities which we have not seen before. I think yesterday we had a talk about, how deepfakes are becoming so prevalent that they can, imitate your CEO or CFO. There are machine learning algorithms that are adapting attacks in real time. So, you can utilize this technology both for the positive and for the negative. And the question really is, while we have used the traditional risk management techniques in the pre-AI era, do you think that they are good for today's environment? I think that is one of the questions that is there. And so I want to talk to you about, what kind of strategies can we use in today's AI age. So let me begin by asking you, how do you today define risk management? As a CISO, as somebody who's looking at risk, how do you now define risk management? Has anything changed?
So first of all, thank you, Giri, for inviting me. I think it's very sort of the memory back lane, because the relationship with 9.9 is since 2005, when we all were, some of us were very new in the industry from InfoSec perspective, and they were the only media house at that point in time. Of course, later, many media houses came, grew, and the InfoSec practitioners count is also increased, right? So it's a great association of the last 2 decades.
Almost 2 decades.
Thank you so much. Second point is you have finally made me to fight a lone battle here on the stage.
There are no battles.
On a stage. It was supposed to be 3 of us, but now I think I'm alone.
You are capable of holding fort on your own.
I'm capable of so many things. That's what my wife says. Okay, so on a Saturday, let's not preach all the stalwarts sitting out here. But having said that, whatever we are doing in HDFC Bank or trying to do, that is something, honestly, I don't mind sharing with all of you. Okay, so let us keep the whole AI/ML's journey, AI, agentic AI, into 2 tracks. Okay, the track 1 is AI for security. Okay, largely talks about the protection and the prevention layer. Second bucket is security for AI. So fundamentally, these are the 2 buckets within which, or rather a framework, yes, within which your thought process generally will carry in the coming days. The first part, AI for security, is all about how do we make sure that your protective technologies in your environment, be it a web application firewall or the anti-DDoS services, your network intrusion prevention services, your XDR agent, all sort of things, how they will have the AI/ML abilities to be able to detect the AI-powered attacks. Okay, as simple as an email gateway. If you see the geopolitical tension of an Operation Sindoor, 14% attacks in that particular period of time, 1/4, were AI-powered, right? Whether it is a defacement or a phishing email or it is a DDoS. All 3 categories combinedly 14%. So it's a reality now, right? So how do we make sure that the security technologies has that behavioral aspects, that cognitive and heuristic ability to detect the AI-powered attacks? That is the one thought process which is adopted in the industry, or which is being adopted. And then there is engagement happening with the likes of all these solution providers to make sure that their solution has the AI/ML capabilities, and also generative AI more for productivity improvement, efficiency improvement, because it's a board level issue now that how do you improve the efficiency of cyber security, right? The conversations are happening at the board level, the board members are very interested. And it's a very important track in my view for the next few years, that how do we really improve the efficiency of our own people? Going on adding, 10% of staff every year. I don't think in the next 3 to 4 years, any CFO is going to approve flat induction of manpower, right? Because they are also getting much aware about that. So definitely there is a huge scope for making sure that the AI for security becomes a very important element in the organization's ecosystem, so that whether it is a manpower, productivity, security efficiency, or the protection layer. Second important aspect is security for AI, right? Many organizations have adopted the AI/ML models. Okay, historically, some organizations has AI/ML models on fraud, on marketing analytics, on credit analytics, right? It's a combination of statistical models and machine learning models. Now, because of this AI wave and Gen AI web, a few organizations in India and many organizations in the globe, all leading banks, whether you take JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citibank, ICBC Bank, all have embarked on a journey of, and many Indian banks as well, on using Gen AI, and AI/ML and those stuff. Some of them are on even trying or putting their thoughts on agentic AI. So when you develop those models, there are threats associated with it. I'm not going into the details of the threat, but if you go to the OWASP, there are OWASP top 10 threats for large language models. There are OWASP top 10 threats for agentic AI, which is recently released by them. There are OWASP top 10 threats for specific AI/ML as well. There are 3-4 the models released by the OWASP, the top 10 threats. But yes, how do you make sure that there is no prompt injection? How do you make sure that if you are using an agentic AI, which is an AI agent, and agentic AI is a broad terminology like a zero trust, it's a philosophy. Under that, AI agents and multiple AI assistant, etc., will work. So how do you make sure that the AI agents are doing the job which is supposed to be done by them, right? And they are not going off-boarded, in carrying out their activities. How do you protect the prompts? If you open the prompts to 10,000 of people in your organizations, there are chances of prompt injection, which may affect the data confidentiality, right? So these are all evolving areas. We all are studying, okay? And in my view, in the next 2 to 3 years, when AI/ML, which is a buzzword now, will become a reality, and it will become a reality, I'm fairly confident in that, at least my personal view. There, how do you protect the AI/ML models, from the employee perspective, from the customer's perspective, etc. That is going to be the important challenge, because it's all backed by the data, right, which you generate. It could be important sensitive data of your organizational policies or your HR data, etc. So protection of those AI/ML models, which is security for AI, so is also crucial aspect. This is the largely first point. The framework, I don't see any other framework which we need. We need a standard, okay? We need a sort of a checklist to make sure that any initiative which is AI powered, when it is rolled out for the customers, it has to undergo the AI/ML security assessment. There has to be a AI/ML SecOps, something like a AI/ML CI/CD. So that component will tick in a normal DevSecOps, right, or a CI/CD setup or pipeline. The element of AI will fit in, right? Apart from that, I don't think there is going to be a big change from the standard security practices are concerned. Framework perspective, fairly the existing framework, etc., will remain the same, whether you go for NIST framework, and there is also AI/ML.
Yes,
I
there is
think
a new
40,2001 or some. I'm not
Some
able
standard
to.
has been published.
There is a NIST standard. There is also ISO standard now, 42,001, if I'm not wrong. Right. So a lot of the standards are coming. So eventually people like ISO, etc., will go on adopting it. May not be 100%, but at least 60-70% of those clause requirement, etc. Risk management definition, to my knowledge, will remain same. There is no change because the whole accountability is on the CISOs, whether we say or not, right? Whether you are the second line of defense in the banking sector, BFSI largely, and the IT is the first line of defense. But ultimately, in case of any cyber attacks, the accountability is always on a CISO, right? So that poor guy needs to make sure that not only the strategy is developed, the tight engagement happens with the CTO, the CIO, the business stakeholders, and get the work done. So the standard definition of risk management, of identification of risk, analyzing the risk, mitigating the risk, and the treating the risk, etc., will remain same. I don't personally see any big difference in that. But yes, the board is also evolving, getting sensitized on AML. Some of their kids are abroad, somebody are a data scientist. So there's no scarcity of the people mentoring them as well, right? So I think it's a different world where the leadership qualities of the CISOs, the influential abilities of the CISOs on the AML and the technical understanding of the subject will definitely give the comfort. So these are some of the pieces, Giri. I don't know whether it answered your question, but in a nutshell, from the definition, risk management, no change is my view. The frameworks can be a very standard framework which are being used today, even NIST's CC, the cybersecurity framework 1. Now I think they have released the CCF2, but that will largely remain same.
Thank you, Samir. So I think from what I could summarize from what you said was there are two aspects to this. One is, how do you use AI to protect, defend all your infrastructure and your systems and all. And the second part is how do you do security for the AI itself?
Protect the models.
Protect the models.
Correct.
And there, of course, we have numerous challenges because some of the AIs are now being used because they are embedded within.
It's all evolving. Systems. I mean, we all are studying, understanding the threat vectors, understanding the, and it's all, I think.
So I just want to quickly touch upon one of the parts that you sort of briefly mentioned in passing, which was that, that AI-powered attacks which are coming. So in and you said something like 14% of the attacks you think are AI generated.
Certain statistics.
Yeah, but do you expect that to increase or do you expect that to sort of remain at that? And
No, I mean, there is no question of anybody saying any attack will remain stagnant or whether it will, I think it will increase, right? Because of the computing infrastructure is very cheap now, right? So the attacker has the ability to sort of create a very large power attack. Today it is 14%. I'm sure in the next 5 years, if we are on the dais, it could have crossed 50%. It's very easy, right? If you see reconnaissance is easy, DDoSing is easy, creating the bots is easy, social engineering is easy, emails are easy.
So, but do you see any new kind of attack which is being created because of this AI? Something
all attacks, reconnaissance. Today the reconnaissance, the port reconnaissance, for example, which used to happen traditionally or maybe on a script, now it is all AI powered. And if you go on a site, there are thousands of used AIML tools which you can download and do. I mean, in few days back, there was a teenager boy based out of Ahmedabad has used an open source DDoS tool and launched attacks on many Indian institutions, right? So out of ignorance, or maybe testing it out like a script kiddie, people will attempt AI tools, etc., right? But if the proper precautions are not taken, then the organizations would suffer.
So the second part is, of course, using AI within the cybersecurity function itself.
Yeah.
So what kinds of techniques or what kinds of technologies are people adopting today?
Good question, which will be of probably interest to all of us. First area where we are experimenting is, and we are experimenting, when I'm saying, even as I'm speaking, is on threat hunting.
Threat hunting.
Right, where normal threat hunts today are either manual or a query or a script, okay? But using the AI or Gen AI largely, using the Gen AI interfaces, we are experimenting how fast and efficient the threat hunting query will become, and we are getting good results. Second is on triaging the alerts. So today the SOC is generating multiple alerts, etc., and there are a lot of false positives. So how do you do the more accurate triaging of the SOC alerts? That's a second use case, which is also important use case in my view, which I think we are also experimenting. Third is reduction of the false positives, okay, where the agentic AI will play a role. In the earlier one, the former one, the Gen AI, but here the agentic AI has the ability. And the incident response and remediation, again the agentic AI has the capability, right? So I don't know whether you guys, if you've attended the RSA conference this time, it was a very eye-opener for all of us. Many companies have come up with the fantastic products on these areas where we are discussing here. But I think the world is very clear. At least the US is very clear about their strategy around AI/ML and Gen AI and adoptions, and the universities are being shaped up. The research budgets, it's in billions. So definitely when it is happening in US, at some point in time, it will percolate down to our country. We will also see a lot of use cases around that. In our organizations, little tangential, we have identified some 15 use cases where the Gen AI can be used efficiently for the customer experience. We call it as a lighthouse programs. Some of the use cases are on legal, some of the use cases are on collections, some of the use cases are on credit card, debit card analytics side. Cybersecurity, these three use cases, what I summarized, and then other business force. We are also developing our own Gen AI platform based out of our engineering factory in Gurgaon on our own platform, where we will use the models by Google or OpenAI, etc., depending on the right use cases. And then we will slightly roll it out. So I think when we are adopting, I'm sure the couple of other banks are also started adopting it. And so very soon we will find the adoption will increase fairly.
So a very related question to, I think, the last statement that you made, that you are you are developing your own models as well as you are using
not
technologies.
Models. Not models, platforms.
Yeah.
The models, we have to download. So Hugging Face and also download the models and test it out.
So in that case, how are you dealing with supply chain and third-party risk?
Oh yeah, very good. So security for AI. So that track. So whenever, for example, on a Hugging Face, you are downloading the model, okay? And there are multiple models of all leading model providers are hosted on Hugging Face. Most of the models are free to download. So when you download the models, what is the guarantee that it's not carrying a malware payload? Okay, right? So you have to make sure that you create a sandbox environment where the models which is getting downloaded undergo the scanning in real time, right? And then after the identification of the vulnerabilities and remediation, then only the model will be allowed to be deployed in a production environment. So standard processes, Giri, right? So it's not a rocket science at all. Whatever even the third-party risks today we are having in terms of somebody is using, developing a software, which means the CI is at his end and the CD is at my end, continuous deployment. So third party developing a software, deploying at my end, what do you do? You make sure that the code undergoes a security assessment. Same philosophy, right? The only challenge would be, because of the complexities of the more open source, right, etc. It is important that your scanning tools and your risk management processes also has the controls to tackle to the AI specific vulnerabilities, and it is all well covered in the OWASP, and OWASP top 10 in my view is a benchmark right now. It's a good informative reference to begin your journey of the scanning assessment. So you scan those models, then you deploy those models, then you protect the large language models because prompt injection is happening, etc. So how do you protect that? Okay, from the data confidentiality, from poisoning, from bias, etc. Because on the customer side, bias may not be related to a security risk, but a huge reputational risk for the institutions. right? If it's not giving the correct answers. These are some of the areas where even the solution providers are also working, right? And I think the world is evolving now. There are good number of startups. I would not say good, but 3-4 good startups our country has on the security for AI track. Internationally, there are at least 12 to 14 vendors, prominent vendors who have this kind of solutions. I think the approach remains same, right? It's just that the most important point in my view is more than anything is your skill set, right? The guy who is scanning the large language models, the small language models, what is their understanding of the subject? How exactly it works? When you're doing the red teaming on the AML models or the Gen AI platform, unless and until we have the right skill sets, everything is secondary. So that is the most important challenge to my mind, that to sort of upskill the people on the AI, Gen AI and all these new areas, then only you can have a good integrated approach on AML risk management.
So then my final question, to talk about the culture of, risk, AI aware risk culture, how to build that in the organization. Do you have any?
No, I think
suggestions?
continuous knowledge sessions, and luckily you go to Microsoft or Google's or Perplexity, right? All these went OpenAI, Meta, for example. So all these people have got good Indian presence, right? So arrange the sessions for your team to make sure that they understand. There are a good number of research, Data Security Council of India doing. They have released the papers. And then Gartner has the papers. So Forrester has. So I think it's not a one approach per se, but the idea is to study, interact, and equip yourself about what are those security risks which are emerging right now using AI, ML, Gen AI. People are talking about a little advanced one is about using MCP. You use the MCP protocol where the AI will be able to interact with all security solutions for incident response and remediation. There are vulnerability in the native vulnerability is MCP. The Google has released the A2A protocol where one agent will talk to other agents, which has the native vulnerability. See, these are all evolving. Right now, maybe it's a little bit of theoretical for all of us, but someday down the line, it will become a reality. And when the risk management frameworks are being designed, we have to take care of all these things. And that comes when you are reading a lot, interacting with the vendors, interacting with the partner, reading the research papers, and that's how anybody will have their journey like this.
Thank you, Samir. I think that was an excellent exposition on this new field of AI, particularly from a cybersecurity practitioner perspective on what to look for, how to tackle this. And I think it was really very educative to speak to you about this. And I'm sure people will have questions, and I encourage you all to connect with Samir. He's done a lot of research on this area.
No, not a lot of research.
No, he's being very modest, but he's doing a lot of research on this.
Nothing.
So I encourage you to connect with him and to get his advice, get some suggestions, and then take this forward. I think this is something we'll be discussing more and more.
During
probably
this
next
year. Few years you will have this session in every conference.
Absolutely. So I
that
just want to
sure,
thank Samir for taking the initiative to talk about this topic at this forum. We would like to start this conversation on this because we think this will become very, very important in the
I agree.
Lives of all security practitioners. We'll be talking a lot more about it.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.